Rachel Zegler on the docket is she's an asshole.
We're diving straight into a wild live TV showdown that's got everyone talking. Right off the bat, Megyn Kelly drops that killer line, and it sets the tone for what's coming. A mess of a remake and a whole lot of drama over Disney's new Snow White.
Now, one thing that is already universally known at this point by the general public is the fact that Disney is in full-on damage control mode.
And it's not just about damage control. The stakes are sky high, with huge money losses and a casting choice that's sparking fierce reactions.
I came back, the losses were around $4 billion a year.
Well, I know this point has been made, but this truly is the worst casting, maybe in the history of the film industry.
When you hear numbers like that, you know something major has gone wrong. The casting of Rachel Zegler isn't just off, it's been called the worst decision ever.
Has there been a film with worse casting than this? And I don't just mean the Snow White actress, obviously she's terrible, but both of them.
Maybe you're a tool, you're a pawn in this film. You didn't write it, you didn't direct it, you have nothing to do with the creation of Snow White. Right. You should shut up.
Yikes. That kind of blunt talk isn't something you hear every day, and it's not just insiders who are upset.
I think the movie bombed because it's bad. Those CGI little people.
Even on social media, the reaction was instant. Fans and critics alike started piling on, calling it a disaster from the get-go.
Now for Disney, as you probably remember, all of this publicity, the Zegler interviews, the Daily Mail leak, caused a lot of unexpected, for them anyway, pre-production problems. It was supposed to be, kind of a surprise, but now there was no hiding it.
Disney's secrets spilled out, and there was no turning back. The reveal of these behind-the-scenes issues left everyone shocked.
She has to go. I'm sorry, Disney.
Now, one thing about Rachel Zegler is that we know that she's not helping at all.
But these guys at Disney, they're not that bright, they're not that smart, and we see that because they can't come up with any new IP. You guys sit around, you have billions of dollars, they keep going back and rewriting the classic.
Disney is having its own problems.
Because Rachel Zegler is a PR nightmare.
Disney's new live-action remake of Snow White debuted this weekend, and it's an even bigger dud.
Neither of them make any sense for their roles. We've already covered how Rachel Zegler is a terrible choice for Snow White, but Gal Gadot, who plays the Queen, the first problem is that she's the evil queen. The evil queen is supposed to be envious of Snow White's beauty. It is just not, even in a movie with magical mirrors and dwarves and all that, in a fairy tale, that strains my ability to suspend disbelief. That Gal Gadot is angry that she's not as beautiful as Rachel Zegler. I cannot buy that.
I think it's fair to say that no one can stand the star of this movie.
She's a PR nightmare. I don't know how anyone would hire her. I think a lot of these live action updates are really hard to watch. They've really done so much stepping on rakes over the last few months. The box office is just not going to recover.
You're going to have to redo your film again because this woman is a pig and you fired Gina Carano for far less than this nonsense.
Disney tried to update Snow White with a modern twist, but it all went haywire. Once upon a time, the House of Mouse was known for magic and wonder. They remade Snow White, the cartoon that's been around since forever, and it should have been a slam dunk. But instead, what happened was a train wreck. They grabbed a young star, dressed her in the classic outfit, added sparkly CGI dwarfs, and expected money to pour in faster than you could say bibbidi-bobbidi-boo. But then the backlash hit like a ton of bricks.
Did the dwarfs make it or no?
Well, the CGI dwarfs did. Of course, that goes back to the original controversy where Peter Dinklage said, "Why are we doing that?"
When you choose a lead that offends hardcore fans, you've got a problem. Every time Rachel opens her mouth, it's like a crisis for Disney. She even said this isn't about a fairy tale love story. It's about fighting your own battle, which only stirred up more controversy.
You know, she talks about how this isn't a fairy tale about falling in love with the prince. This is a fairy tale about fighting your own battle.
Before the first trailer even dropped, casual onlookers had already dubbed her the actress who shall not be named. And yes, we're talking about Rachel Zegler.
And to everyone who hates when I win, the winged victory came to the Louvre in pieces, and people still line up to see her. And my breaks, and there are many of them, that at every premiere and everything I do, people will wait in line to see.
But then, in a weird twist, her offhand remarks about the 1937 original being outdated set off an internet meltdown so epic, you'd think the Magic Kingdom was on fire. Fans lit up like the 4th of July, demanding respect for the classic. Cue the pitchforks. Even if you secretly think the old cartoon is corny, you wouldn't bash it publicly, especially when you're the face of a multi-million-dollar remake. And that's exactly what's happening. The backlash was swift. Rachel doubled down with more snarky remarks about the old film not matching modern values, basically writing off the entire classic story. In one interview, she even admitted, with a strange focus on her love story that involves a guy who literally stalks her, that it was weird, super weird.
Yeah. Weird. So we didn't do that.
At that point, Disney's PR team was in full panic mode, downing coffee like there was no tomorrow, because this was shaping up to be the PR meltdown of the decade. And then, in a flash, Rachel Zegler started doing tearful interviews, talking about how dear Snow White was to her heart, how much she admired the character's innocence and bravery, and how she was excited to carry on the legacy.
So now she's trying to sell like, oh, I love Snow White. I love everything about the whole story.
And to see this is really emotional for me. So I miss her heart. It's nothing supernatural. It's something that all of us have. Thank you. And I hope you enjoy Snow White. Thank you, guys.
I'm sorry. That was acting. That's what that was.
And as the controversy grew, the movie limped into theaters looking less like a classic fairy tale and more like a budget fiasco you'd catch on a late-night streaming service. Just imagine, if one bite of a poisonous apple can be bad, wait until you see how a star's offhand remarks can tank a major production. Before we get ahead of ourselves, don't forget to like and subscribe, because without you, none of this matters. Now let's rewind a bit and watch the epic train wreck unfold. News broke that Rachel Zegler, fresh off a musical that wasn't glitzy enough for her, was set to star as the new Snow White. At first, fans thought, hey, she can sing and dance, perfect choice. But in a shockingly short time, she declared the 1937 Snow White outdated, a relic with no place in today's world. Disney diehards were like, wait, what did she just say about the cartoon that built this company?
And now she's trying to reinvent herself because there's been so much blowback. And you can only imagine the studio calls about this woman behind the scene. Like, oh my God, we're $242 million in and our lead actress hates our film.
Nobody bought it. Her backpedaling was so fast it could have won an Olympic gold medal, while audiences either rolled their eyes or clutched their popcorn in disbelief.
For almost 90 years now from the original animated classic, that is, fairness is what is within. Fairness is to do with your heart, the way you treat the people around you, and it has nothing to do with what you look like, and that's the misunderstanding.
Meanwhile, the House of Mouse tried to hype up the film with trailers, teasers, and marketing tie-ins, but the damage was done. Social media exploded with memes, sarcastic jokes, and jabs, comparing this Snow White to everything from a cheap knockoff to a cautionary tale about how to anger the entire Disney fan base. And then there's more drama. Rachel reminded everyone about her less than stellar experience on West Side Story, making it sound like her big break was actually a total disaster.
Her West Side Story debut was not a hit. Studio, if you're a director, if you're a casting director, you've got to think twice or three times before hiring her. But there are a lot of actresses in Hollywood who bring all that to the table and are not going to absolutely sabotage your work.
At this point,
even people who didn't know her before started raising eyebrows. It was as if she was trashing the film that made her famous and the iconic project that was supposed to make her a household name. The skepticism grew, and the unstoppable PR snowball kept rolling downhill, leaving a trail of eye rolls, negative headlines, and disappointed fans.
That those executives like Spielberg are looking at that, saying, Rachel Zegler can F right off.
And then came the final gut punch, the film's actual release. When Snow White hit theaters, the reviews were brutal. The movie wasn't a blockbuster, it was a flop. Reports say Disney lost millions, and if you stack the money, it could have reached the top of Cinderella's castle.
The movie debuted in the United States at number 1 with $43 million. Decent, but not a blockbuster. Overseas, Snow White took in $44.3 million in its opening weekend, bringing the total to just $87.3 million. with a budget of around $209 million. Snow White is destined to be one of the biggest bombs in Disney history.
Even Disney's most loyal fans either shrugged or actively avoided buying tickets. Instead of families lining up at midnight in princess costumes, theaters were nearly empty, except for a few crickets chirping in the back. For those who did go, they complained about everything, from the weird tone to the odd creative choices that made the film barely recognizable. The star of the show looked like she'd rather be anywhere else. All illusions of a triumphant Disney blockbuster were shattered, leaving piles of unsold merchandise and clearance rack plush dwarfs behind. This whole fiasco has turned into an instant Hollywood cautionary tale. Never hire someone who trashes your classic before the film even hits theaters. And now, with the film officially labeled a flop and the House of Mouse counting its losses, the internet rumor mill is spinning at hyperspeed, talking about massive layoffs, rearranged executive teams, and future remakes being quietly shelved. Some folks are extra mad that the original dwarfs got replaced by CGI ones, and let's just say, the real ones were not happy about it.
I remember back in 2023 when this was going on and all the little people making videos saying, well, wait, there's so few roles for us in Hollywood, we're being passed over for this.
As for Rachel Zegler, she's become something of a meme magnet. Online people are saying, yeah, we don't need you messing up another classic. Harsh as it is when you publicly roast a beloved story and then deliver a film that tanks at the box office, sympathy becomes a rare commodity. Even if she's got talent and a decent singing voice, if no one's buying tickets, that's a massive red flag for studios. Tinseltown is already buzzing with gossip about producers eyeing new stars who won't stir up drama like it's their side hobby. The irony is almost laughable. Snow White was meant to be a guaranteed cash cow, a story that launched Disney's golden age, reimagined for modern audiences. Instead, it's become the poster child for how bad press, poor actor relations, and offhand comments can sink even the mightiest project. When all the dust finally settled, one thing was clear. This entire saga is as far from a fairy tale as you can get. The classic Happily Ever After turned into a massive flop, and the star who once promised to be Disney's new darling ended up alienating fans before the first poster even hit the streets. The House of Mouse learned a hard lesson. Sometimes controversy does not equal cash. Sometimes controversy just means your box office receipts are in free fall. And while you might hire CGI dwarfs or throw in magical creatures at the last minute, it won't save a project that lost its heart. So what's the moral of this twisted take on Snow White? Maybe it's that if you're going to remake a classic, do your homework and keep your critiques to yourself until the movie's been out for a decade. Or maybe it's that a spoonful of self-awareness goes a long way in Hollywood. Because at the end of the day, the fans hold the real power. Before we wrap up this storybook of cringe, let us know. Was this disaster a predictable train wreck from the start? Or could there have been a magical, happy ending if they'd taken a different approach? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this breakdown or just want to laugh at the chaos, hit that like button, subscribe for more no-holds-barred takes on Hollywood fiascos, and share with a friend who could use a cautionary tale about what not to do when remaking a beloved classic. Thanks for watching, and remember, in the kingdom of showbiz, sometimes the real enchantment lies in not stepping on your own glass slipper. That's it for now. Catch you in the next video, hopefully one with a much less tragic ending. Until then, stay tuned, stay safe, and stay informed.